Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast, Boots on the Ground, number 8. This edition of Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by
Axon Tire, helping dealers move more iron for the past 100 years. Man, 100 years.
100 years.
For more information, go to axontire.com.
All right, Axon Tire would like to give the loyal listeners of the Moving Iron Podcast a free, well, actually two Axon Tire resource mouse pads that you can look at your tire sizes and kind of decide what you're going to do there. So if you'd like one of those things, actually two of those things, go to axontiretips.com and they will make sure to send one to you in the mail. Tell them the Moving Iron Podcast sent you.
And Valley Transportation has been hauling ag and construction equipment across the country for the past 33 years. Call Parker at 800-657-4910 for all your trucking needs. At Valley Transportation, our goal is to help you reach yours.
And no matter how you buy your ag equipment, whether it's from a dealer, an auction, or a private party, AgDirect can help you find AgDirect. It's funny. AgDirect can help you finance it. You can even apply online at agdirect.com. Learn more about your financing options at agdirect.com.
And this segment is brought to you by TractorZoom. With access to over $20 billion worth of heavy machinery sale data, TractorZoom's Iron Comps is the industry's trusted solution for transparent heavy equipment values and auctionable pricing insights.
Right on. Well, it's boots on the ground. So that means that on the other side of this phone that we have tapped into the board here, we have someone that is well-versed in the ongoings of what's happening in the equipment marketplace.
Absolutely. Literally, he is on the ground right now.
On the ground. So, Aaron, who we got as our guest here on Boots on the Ground?
Tonight, we have Lee File with Agri-Center in Hutchinson, Kansas. How are you, Lee?
Doing well, sir. How you gentlemen doing?
Good. What's the latest and the greatest? And well, actually, yeah, what's the latest and the greatest going on in your world down there?
The latest and greatest is we are demoing some combines, and things are going very well. And really cannot complain a whole heck of a lot. Got a little shower there the night before, put us out of the field, so got a little breather. Was able to catch up on some things, and we're back at it today here in the central part of Kansas.
Right on. Why don't you give us a little background on you, your time in the industry, and about Agri-Center?
So about me, so I grew up in Beloit, Kansas. Came out of high school, went to Nebraska, redshirted Nebraska on the football team. Ended up going to K-State, played football at K-State for 4 years.
Right on.
First job was in agriculture as a salesman. I worked for farm equipment dealership out of Wamego, Can-Equip. They gave me a great opportunity there and started there with them for a while, and then ended up moving on to territory manager with Crustbuster Speed King out of Dodge City for about 8-9 years. And this opportunity came available with Agri-Center. I just called the current ownership and told them I'm interested in owning a farm equipment dealership, and took about 3 years, and we finally got together on it.
Right on.
So we've been doing this since 17 now. So
awesome.
Okay. Right on. All right. So if you're out demoing combines right now, that means you're probably out there. You're in the middle of wheat. So what's the wheat situation look like right now, Lee?
So the farther west we go, get closer to that Dodge City area, the wheat does get poor out in that direction. There are spots that are decent, but a lot of 15s, 20s.
Oh, wow.
Farther east you come back, man, it gets substantially better. Everybody, farther east you come, west of Hutchinson area, everybody is pleased with their yields, much better than they anticipated. So
that's good.
We've got several fields over here around the McPherson County area that are well in excess of 60 bushel. And then get closer to 77 highway, 80 bushel dryland wheat.
Wow.
So it's out there. It's out there if the guy's got it. If it's got fungicided, it's really standing the test right now.
Is that low yield stuff pretty high in protein though, as is typical with droughty wheat?
Yes, it is high in protein right now. The only problem that everybody's saying right now is getting paid for the high protein.
Right.
So that's everybody's.
They
That's
just dock
everybody's
for
little
it. They don't pay you
that.
for it.
Exactly. They're
Yep.
only going to pay for something if they need it, and if there's plenty of it, there's no reason to pay you for it.
Right. Oh, sorry, you got 60 bushel wheat. Protein sucks. It's worth half. Like what?
Exactly.
Yep. So Lee, talk
Exactly.
a little bit about the lines you carry there at Agri-Center.
So we're a full line cloth dealer, so combines, forage harvester, tractors, hay tools, along with a full line with New Holland, MacDon, and JBS, along with Can-Am Power Sports.
Can Power.
Right on.
Okay. And you have a store there in Hutch. Do you have another location too, or just the one in Hutch?
No, we just have the one location in Hutchinson.
Okay. All right. For some reason, I thought you had one up in Salina.
But you guys cover several counties out of that one store, right, Lee?
Yeah, we actually go from north central Oklahoma to north central Kansas, pretty much right at Junction City South, and then very consistently to that Dodge City area west. So
Okay.
Right on.
Right on. Okay, man.
That's
All
a
right.
swath.
That is a swath.
Yeah.
So I guess right now, Lee, as you're looking out, what's going on around you? I'm sure you're having the same issues everybody else is having: availability, parts, all the stuff that comes along with all that stuff.
Delays.
Lots of delays.
delays.
Aaron and I were talking about this the other day, looking at some of the stuff where some of these machines, combines, we use that as a good example, should have gotten the machine before wheat harvest. And then through the various delays and stuff that came through, you're maybe lucky to get it at the tail end of fall harvest. So I guess as you're looking at your used inventory now, what you have coming in, how are you reacting to that? And what are you doing to stay in front of that with your customers?
So the biggest thing we've been doing is the pre-selling our trade-ins.
Right.
We've been very fortunate. We do have a very high demand with that used cloth combine right now, and we have been able to stay ahead of it. We don't have anything to sell anybody right now on the used side, which is, a detriment, but yet still not all bad at the same time.
Yeah, it's a really cool problem.
Yeah, it's a really cool problem, but yeah, no, we've been extremely fortunate. Our forage harvesters, our used forage harvesters, are finally starting to trickle out and trickle down through the process. So that's always been one of our hangups, is our used forage market, just because of the lack of the second, third, fourth buyer,
Regardless of color. That's the biggest problem in that entire industry.
Yep, it is. It really is.
Yeah. I tell everybody, I said, you can produce the exact same machine, clone the guy that runs it. He farts in the seat at the same time. And what you got out of this cutter today isn't what you're going to get out of the second one within 12 hours.
Right.
It's just a very tough market. The data is just not there. Even if you say I sold it for this 12 hours ago, doesn't mean you're going to get it for this the next day.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah, absolutely right. So when you're looking at what we see happen with the chopper market, that's one thing that is excuse me. Chopper market is one of those deals like you just talked about. It's very fickle. It ebbs and flows with more a lot less latitude than anything else does, right? I mean, there's huge gaps in washout cycles. There's prolonged selling cycles of the used equipment as you're looking at getting that stuff pushed through. what are some of the things that you've done that you would say are pretty creative when you're working with your customers on what you're doing when you're doing that roll cycle and those kind of things?
Probably one of the biggest things we do is we're able to go sell the new. We're able to sell that low houred late model forage harvester.
Right.
That's one thing that's helped a lot. But when we get to that second and third, it does go stagnant. So we have to get creative with financing options, payment credits, terms, that sort of stuff with everybody, just because you're trying to fit into a cycle, a payment for this next buyer, because the next buyer isn't the big custom operator. The big custom operator buys multiple units.
Yep.
He rolls multiples at times. He's able to get the multi-unit discounts, and he gets all the gravy. So you just got to we have to watch what we do on the backside as rolling them down too.
Oh yeah.
And we've been fortunate being able to get several to Mexico, several to China. The China deal has actually been pretty okay for us. So.
Yeah, that's been a neat little niche here in the last couple of years for me too.
Yeah. It's kind of bailed us out a couple times, so it feels good, because your guys are absolutely right. The cycle of those machines, they do not roll like tractors, combines, planters. Right, yep. They don't turn that. I mean, every turn that you have, you got to set the forage harvesters over here in a separate bucket almost.
Yeah.
And they have to have their own set of parameters, kind of thing.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a whole different animal, the way you approach that, the way you handle the new cell, the used cell, and everything in between. Because, and you tell me if you see the same thing, because Aaron and I talked about this a million times. You've got the guy that's coming in that wants to buy that later model, lower houred unit, and then it seems like there's a pretty big gap till you get to the 2,000 or 3,000 hour machine. Because, like you said, you got the new guy buying the stuff that gets the gravy, and then you've got the subsequent guys down the line. The number of people that one can have the acres to afford their own chopper is a very niched thing anyway. But when you really start getting into the guy that only has like 200 or 300 acres he's going to chop, having a $500,000 used chopper doesn't make sense, but having a $150,000 one does. So, right. I mean, there's a big gap in there in those customer base. So what are you doing there? How do you approach that?
Well, trying to just stay out in front of everybody and market the machines and we have all these people that they want this used forage harvester, right? This lower dollar, higher houred machine. But then at the same time, they upgrade from a 5830 and they go into a bigger forage harvester. Well, then they have to gear up. What buying the forage harvester isn't necessarily the problem.
Right.
It's buying all the support equipment to go along with it.
That's exactly right.
You buy, then you gotta go buy the trucks. Well, then, oh shucks, here comes the stuff into the silo. I ain't got a bit. My 8300 ain't keeping up with this, right?
Right. Yeah.
With a blade,
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. So, shit, we can't pack with an 8300 anymore. Now we need 3 4-wheel drives.
Yep.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
So the same thing on the combine side. So we've had several of those conversations when you're looking at class 9 and class 10 combines and how that all plays in there. And the guy jumping from a class 7 or a class 8 up to that, 9 or 10 series machine. And the conversations that you have, I mean, I think it's not that the buyer isn't educated and doesn't understand what it is. It's I think, I'm hearing you that you're increasing throughput and those kind of things, but you're also thinking about your logistics that come into that, especially when you're looking at some of these machines that are filling up a 1,500 bushel grain cart in 20 minutes, it's just,
Oh, way faster than that.
but you see my point.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
at 20 minutes, you're used to 35 minutes or 40 minutes.
Right. You have
Right.
3 dumps and
Yeah.
that thing's full.
Yeah. So now you're sitting back there going like, holy crap, man. I mean, the logistics that play into that and all those kind of things. When you have that customer that's looking at making that jump up, what kind of educational process are you putting them through as they look at that support equipment side of it?
So, like you say the combine deal, right?
Mhm.
This guy, these customers are having a help struggle,
Right.
right?
yeah.
So then it's like, okay, well, I'm going to get rid of 2 machines, go down to 1, and this is how I'm going to go do it.
Right.
Okay. But then you also still we went from 2 older machines, went to a machine that is doing as much or more than those 2 machines did, those older machines. And they're still having those issues with logistics, especially
changed.
Right.
winter wheat country, that's probably not a big deal. But when you get into this big corn,
Oh, yeah.
that big corn just comes in so fast, and you paid for all this extra horsepower, all this, 4 more rows, went from a 12 row to a 16 row head, and we got 1 grain cart.
Right.
And we expect to go keep it away from the combine, right?
You
can't do it.
you end up with the same help. You just turned combine drivers into grain cart and truck drivers. That's essentially all that happens.
Yeah. And I think, to me, I look at this and I think this is, I think baggers have always had a presence from time to time in different eras, but I think this could be one of those years where, or kind of one of those beginning trend lines where guys are going to sit back and take a look at, like, what makes a lot of sense for us to do? Just bag it at the end of the field.
Yeah.
And then we'll move to the next field. We'll bag it over there. We'll keep going. And then, when harvest is done, we'll start loading trucks and we'll take it to either the elevator or
Take it home and haul it out in March.
Yeah.
For March
whatever
contract.
it looks like, or, the guys are just going to market it from there and then, hey, go to field 37 and pick up that.
Yeah. Which that does happen a lot.
Yeah. I just think there's
because we need something to do in the wintertime, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Logistics are getting to be a bigger and bigger deal, especially as you start looking at some of these operations where they are from the elevator.
The elevator.
Right. Some of these guys they used to be 10 miles from the elevator, but now they're still 10 miles from the elevator. They just went 20 miles the other direction.
Right.
Now they're 30 or 40 or 50 miles away from an elevator. And that's getting to be a bigger deal too when you start looking at on-farm storage and those kind of things and what's that look like and how those things playing together. There's a lot of logistics that go into play.
Well, you guys have this in your area too. The on-farm storage with some of these larger producers is greater than what the elevator has.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Faster dumping, bigger pit.
Yeah.
Better storage.
Yep. It just trickles down.
Yeah.
So from the logistics side of it, what are you seeing right now? Because Aaron and I talk about this every once in a while. We start talking about support equipment. You start looking at augers, you start looking at grain carts, you start looking at those kind of things. What kind of demand are you seeing right now? Demand signals anyway. Are you seeing right now for that? Maybe a guy going from a 10-inch auger to a 13-inch auger, going from a 750 bushel cart to a 1,250 bushel cart, or maybe even some guys jumping up to a 2,000 bushel cart from a 1,000 or 1,500 bushel cart. What are you seeing right there from that?
Yeah, so everything is absolutely, it's continuing to get bigger, right? Everybody wants to be able to haul more to the elevator, more to their on-farm storage.
Right.
And then okay, you brought up augers, because it's funny you brought up augers. So you used to be able to have the old 1086 sitting at all your bins, running your auger, everything was okay, and 80 to 100 horsepower tractor.
Yep.
I had one customer call me. He says, "I'm getting this auger, and I need a 250 horsepower tractor to run the auger."
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It doesn't work. It's like, okay, so now you've geared up. Now you're to a big MFWD tractor.
Yeah.
So
To run an
our
auger.
tractor that we're going to be supposed to be drilling our wheat with as we're supposed to be augering. Well, that it just keeps trickling down.
Yep. And there's some of them augers. You get into some of them 16-inch augers, 100+ feet. They hold a semi-load. Like the first kernel hasn't fallen out and the last kernel's in the auger.
Yes. Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, that takes a hell of a lot of power to run that.
Yeah.
So someday like 8640s with PTO are going to be just hotter than diamonds because, oh, that's our auger tractor.
Yeah.
We can bend it. We can bend it right in that spot and it works great.
Yep.
That is absolutely right.
Yep. So you're wheat country, you know, growing up down in Kansas like that, you know, used to seeing the air seeders driving around. Where are you seeing that market go? I mean, are you continually seeing that 40-foot air seeder being displaced by a 45 or 50-foot, or are you still kind of in that 35 to 40-foot range with your air seeders right now?
You know, we're still doing pretty much, if we do a CCS, it's 40-foot because that's the biggest they make. And when we get farther in our eastern part of our territory where we get a little bit more rivers, creeks, bottom ground, they're wanting to be able to back into the corner a lot easier versus the farther west we come.
Right.
But the farther west we come, I have not sold a 40-foot pulling a cart in probably 2-3 years. Everything's been 60s.
Okay.
That's interesting because in our world, you know, we're even more wide open. We're still 42
foot. Yeah.
42. Couple, you know, a 50 here and there, maybe a 60, but everything is still 42.
Yeah. Yeah. And it kind of goes back to that, you know, you're talking about labor issues and those kind of things. It's not so much, I think guys want to go get bigger and get bigger equipment and do all that kind of stuff. I really don't think they want to do that as much as they have to do that because, you know, if you had probably the guy buying a 60 probably had, you know, he probably had 2 42-foots or something like that, you know, and now he's, you know, lost that driver or whatever it is, you know, he just can't find the help anymore. So now they're, like you said, they're going back to that 60-foot, but again, back to the logistics side of it, you still got to feed that pig, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then, you know, the fertilizer and seed and everything else that keep that thing rolling. It's just like on the combine side of it, keeping the grain off the combine so it can keep rolling. That's a bigger and bigger issue. So what are you hearing down there, right? I mean, as you're talking to your farmers, I mean, I'm sure you're not in some island someplace where there's just a plethora of help just laying around looking for something to do. I'm sure there's that kind of that thing there. Are you seeing a lot
like Home Depot?
Kind of like Home Depot, yeah. Exactly. Just like Home Depot. If you have, are you seeing a lot more like H2A visa type, you know, South Africans, Mexicans, those kind of things coming in the area that are filling those roles?
So it used to be our custom forage operators had the H2A workers, right? That was just what they got. And now these farms are starting to get H2A workers at the farm. And they cycle them in for the summer, cycle some in for the winter for the cattle operation. And you know, there's just like everything, guys, there's good ones and there's bad ones. Yeah. And sometimes they're able to find some good ones.
Yeah. And that's what we're seeing out here too. I mean, there's as many farms out here that have an H2A basis as far as their workers go as there aren't. And it's just getting you, and it's just more and more and more of that. And like you said, you know, it's expensive to do and those kind of things, but you've got to have readily available labor to come do that. And this is kind of the avenue you have to go down now. And so I think that's kind of the new.
It's your best bet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, unless you got a lot of kids, and that's really not a thing anymore.
Right.
Yep. So last question here, Lee. As you take a look at from a diversity standpoint in that area, I mean, there's a lot of diversity around there, around that central Kansas area. You got a lot of cattle production, you got real crop production, you got wheat production, you got a lot of alfalfa, you know, irrigated alfalfa production in that area, especially as you head just a little bit west of there. As you're looking from that diversity standpoint, this is one of those few years where everything's kind of hitting. You know what I mean? You've got, your row crop guys are going to make money. Your wheat guys are definitely going to make money. You look at all those things that are in there. Inputs are high. All those things that are there. Feed costs are high, but it looks, cattle prices kind of holding in there. I guess from a diversity standpoint, Lee, as you look around, I mean, what's your thoughts there? And do you see anything moving into the area that's out of the ordinary than what you've seen in the past?
No, the hemp thing kind of came and gone. So
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think we really have to worry about the hemp thing anymore. But no, I mean, we're going to continue to be a diversified area. That there's still crop rotations.
Sure.
There's still farms that have that crop rotation. That's the plan. Now the practices are starting to change.
Oh, yeah.
I feel tillage through our area is starting to come back a little heavier than what it once was. That's probably the biggest change I'm seeing is from the no-till to more tillage guys. The no-tillers have been no-tilling for 20 years. They're going out and having to fix their problems
Right.
out in the field. And that's probably the biggest change I'm seeing right now is we're starting to see a little bit more tillage versus no-till.
Yeah. And you're not alone in that. That's pretty much a national thing.
Yeah.
It's weed management, if anything. There's a lot of stuff that the potions don't kill. So you got to do something.
Oh yeah.
Are you seeing a lot more of that real deep, breaking up the hard pan style, roll the dirt type of tillage?
Absolutely.
That kind of stuff? Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen out here too.
Yeah. We've that's kind of been our cup of tea is that 6-8 inches deep and roll it over.
Yep. And now I've noticed that trend here of late too. Like I kind of started noticing about probably 5 or 7 years ago that a lot of these no-till guys were stepping in and kind of like in every 5-year rotation, they'd go in and do that exact same thing you're talking about, and then go back to no-till practice for the next 4 or 5 years or whatever until they had some kind of an issue pop up they needed to go take care of. But that's we did a podcast about that not too long ago about tillage trends and what we see happening there, and because it seems like every 5 or 6 years there's a new tillage trend out there that people, whether it's vertical tillage came in, that was a big deal.
Oh yeah. Now it's high speed
disc or whatever. Go from a conventional disc tillage practice away from the moldboard tillage practice. I mean, those gradual steps of what we saw happen there, and it seems like every 5 years there's some new.
Oh yeah. Silver bullet. The silver bullet.
Yeah,
This will fix it all.
bullet.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
that is a fact.
Yeah.
That is a fact.
All right, Lee. Well, I think we covered this one here. Is any last thoughts you want to throw out there before we shut the podcast down?
No, guys, longtime listener. Thank you very much for having me on today.
Well, no, I appreciate you being on there, and Lee, you came to the Moving Iron Summit last year, and it was really good to meet you in person. Talk about that a little bit and some of the takeaways you took from that.
Yeah, so the Moving Iron Summit, it was fantastic. Just A, for networking, B, understanding some of the trends that are out there, our cycles that are, even our weather cycles.
Yeah.
With your gentleman that speaks about that, your marketing group that you have come in also. Fantastic operation. Look forward to coming back to it this year.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good show. Look forward to seeing you again and having a few cocktails with you when things wind down for the evening. So,
Right on.
Well, Lee, appreciate you being on the podcast. If folks want to reach out to you, what's the easiest way to do that?
The easiest way to reach me is my email is lee@agricenter.us or call the dealership at 620-665-8894.
Right on. Aaron, folks want to reach out to you. What's the best way to do that?
Smoke signal.
Smoke signal.
No, I'm kidding. Pretty active all over the internet, on LinkedIn, Facebook, by my name, on Twitter, by my name with no space, @Aaron Fintel. Pretty active on there. Email aaron.fintel@movingironllc.com. Call me, text me, 308-760-1193.
Right on. And I'm Casey Seymour. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Moving Iron LLC. Hit me up at LinkedIn at Moving Iron Podcast, and go over to the YouTube channel, Moving Iron Podcast YouTube channel, and you can see the video version of this podcast. If you want more information about what's going on in Moving Iron, check it out, MovingIronLLC.com. All the blog posts, all the whole library of the Moving Iron Podcast is there, and all the information for the Moving Iron Summit coming up in Nashville, Tennessee, September 6th, 7th, and 8th. Check that out. If you need more information about that, send me an email at movingironpodcast@movingironpodcast.com, and I will make sure to get back to you. Friend Alex Tuchenko, Aaron and I's friend, works for the dealership here, is back in Ukraine, delivering humanitarian aid. If you're interested in helping Alex do that stuff, check out the show notes. There's a link there for his GoFundMe page, and you can send him money that way, or you can just go to GoFundMe.com and search "Help Alex Transport Humanitarian Aid from Poland to Ukraine." So check that out. So
Don't cramp up when you're typing that.
don't do that. It's a long one. Don't do that. So if you're interested in helping Alex out, that'd be great. He's over there. He's like 10 miles away from where all the action's at. So he's right in the middle of all the action there. So with that, I am Casey Seymour with Aaron Fennell and Lee File. Let's go smart, folks.
Moving iron in the 21st century.